Hello. First, a confession. This is going to be the second take of the beginning of the Prokofiev Sixth Sonata. This is my first big solo project. This is a piece I've known by hearing. I've actually taught it a few times, but I've never played it. I have a new bit of music here that I've just started to mark up. I put some measure numbers in for convenience. It's marked up more than it ought to be because I actually spent the last hour practicing it in front of this camera, but neglected to check the camera to see that it had run out of space, which I had done once before. So I am chagrined. It's one of those things. So what you will get the benefit of, and also the absence of, the benefit is that I can review in my mind the experiences I've had, so you're going to get a shortened version of my learning process for the first page and a half, page and three quarters. But you won't get all of the slogging through, so I apologize for that. I apologize to me because I thought what I discovered was interesting to me. In any event, several things about the first movement of the Prokofiev Sonata. There is certainly a recurrent motive. The first challenge about this motive is that I look at it and I see shifting spellings of chords. For example, the beginning chord in the right hand is a C sharp E, a minor third. And then the descending pattern is major thirds. And a third issue that I discovered, all of this in the last hour, is that melodically there's a descending major second, and then a half step. So if I keep track of that, I have the minor third, then this pattern, 16ths and 8ths. And the third issue, or the third discovery that's really important, is that minor third is isolated from the quicker descending major thirds in some fashion. It's an eighth note, either isolated with an eighth note rest, or just eighth note going onto the figure, and that recurs. So you have one with a rest, one without a rest, so it's dum, 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 dum. Okay, so far so good. That takes care of the first two measures. Then Prokofiev, without rest, does that twice. And then another unique thing is that he plays that descending motive without the precursor, without the extra eighth note. So you have eighth isolated, eighth not isolated, eighth isolated, eighth not isolated, then two of those, so, and then finally the descent alone, and then a cadence. So this is ostensibly an A major, starts in A major. The first cadence there ends on A in the right hand, but to throw in a curve, Prokofiev brings in an F sharp minor first inversion chord there. Now I have the advantage of an hour's worth of practicing, so a lot of these observations are ones that I made as I was doing it, and I would have hoped to have shared exactly that, but in this case I have that advanced knowledge, so you get the benefit of my hour worth of musing and pondering and exploring. So, meanwhile, the left hand is emphasizing both the tonic, the A, and the tritone, to give it some rather more bizarre than a standard dominant. So that's nice. And the other thing is that there's some logic emphasis. The second beat, at least in the first two measures, when we have those extended figures with the eighth rest, has one of those tie signs that goes nowhere, that implies sustain the sound, often with a pedal. certainly shows a savoring of the second beat. Sorry. This is another discovery I've been making, which is true of a lot of piano learning, particularly, that the keyboard sense of a passage is an important aspect of how you learn it. So it's one thing to be able to say, oh, I know that opening motive starts with a minor third, and then it goes to a series of major thirds. But it's how the major thirds feel. The relation of black to white notes, for example. 5 and 3 on white notes. Oh, it's not as comfortable as 5 and 3 white-black, but it's perfectly fine if your hand is tilted slightly so that there's more of an evening out of position. Now, 4 and 2 are similarly lengthed fingers, so when one is playing a black note, there tends to be, or in my estimation, there should be a tilt of the hand and arm to accommodate that. So, and then 1 and 3, white-black, that's ideal for the hand. It's able to be square to the keyboard and feel that each finger is at ease on its friend. In other words, thumb likes to be on white note, third finger loves to be on black note, and the two together are partnered beautifully well. So that slight tilt of the 2-4 can result in then I could keep that tilt for 1 and 3, but I don't need to, so my hand can straighten out. In other words, it looks for the least resistance. So that feeling is part of the familiar identity. I want this motive to have, so it will always be able to be non-legato and as it should be, and really clear and be under my hand with the maximum sense of comfort. So perfectly reasonable. I did note to myself that I had to choose between 1, 2, 4 in the left hand and 1, 2, 5. And the discovery I made that I thought was on tape before, but I will share with you now, is sometimes when something is really easy, you can go a number of ways with fingering and with various aspects of how you play it. So 1, 2, 4 is my normal ideal fingering for this kind of a chord. Thumb, white note, black, black, because the long fingers get to be up there in the black notes. But what I discovered at the very end is because of the interference of the right hand, when it comes and leaps, and its thumb is under the left hand thumb, if I use fourth finger and I keep my hand comfortable where it is, it stays out further on the end of the keyboard, gets in the way of the right hand thumb. The fifth finger, by comparison, because it's shorter, tends to make me want to find a posture for the hand and arm that's slightly turned leftward, inward, like this. And the result is it clears out of the way. So it ends up that actually playing it hands together made the determination for me that I should play fifth finger instead of fourth finger. And that's a tiny little thing, but there's a certain deliciousness to it. It says, oh, my body was so smart there. It knew what was right. All right, here we go. Okay, and then we have these thirds, the opposite of thirds, sixths. Minor thirds and major sixths. So I think I'm going to use, because it fits my hand really well, especially white-black, and into white-black. The 1 and 3 here is pretty nice. The 2 and 5 here is not so nice, but in the context of where it's going, it's very nice. Now I could then shift to fourth if I wanted, but what I'm going to do, the decision I came up with earlier, is shift to fourth when I have these major sixths, because that makes this B, G sharp really comfortable. And for one other reason, because it's a fingering that leads me to the intervals, to the keys that I otherwise would have to discriminate between just mentally. So by having the third, I'm reminding myself that the lower intervals are smaller the chord.